Hey there, welcome to another episode of Moandain Designs. I'm your host Moandain. This video is part of my favorites series, and today we'll be talking about my favorite puzzler games. IQ on the PS1, also known as Intelligent Cube, was released in January 31st, 1997 by Sony Interactive Entertainment. Personally, I believe that this game is a sleeper hit. The gameplay doesn't look like much, but it's one of those things where it is easy to learn but difficult to master. You can run around with your guy and place markers on the ground to delete cubes as they move. If you get hit by one of the cubes, then you get run over and you lose a row of your space. It's definitely a game that is worth looking into. I know that the price has been fluctuating on it recently, but honestly, if you can pick the game up for like $30 or less, complete in box, it's definitely worth your time. I've always enjoyed the game. It's had really great music, a very innovative play style. It's a lot of fun. It's definitely worth checking out. Arkanoid on the Nintendo, also known as Alleyway and a few other names, but I mainly just go with Arkanoid. It was released in the arcades in 1986 by Taito. Mainly most people see these with like little spinner controls or roller balls or anything like that that's like a track system instead of your classic joystick. The game is a little bit hard to control on the Nintendo and a few other systems that do not have an appropriate controller, or if you don't have that appropriate controller. Again, it's just another really fun game. It's along the same lines as Pong, only it's one player and you're just trying to break away the blocks and stuff like that. And it is a whole lot of fun, and I really do enjoy it. It's another game that I would really honestly suggest almost any of the games on my list here. Tetris released on the Nintendo in June 6, 1984, and it was released by Nintendo. There's a lot of debate on who owns this title and all of that stuff, but I'm really not trying to get into it. It's just another good puzzle game. You can sit down and play it for however long or however short you want to play it. It's very good, and just pick up and go and not have to dedicate a huge amount of time to it. Tetris is probably one of the most widely known puzzle games out there. It's really worth your time, and honestly, I think everyone's already played Tetris. Dr. Mario is another great game. It's along the same lines as Tetris, only you have to line up the pills to match the colors of the objects, which are just mainly the diseases and stuff like that. It's also one of the first times that Mario has appeared as a different job than a plumber. It was released on the Super Nintendo, which is the version that I prefer, in December 1994. It's also released by Nintendo, as it is their property. Again, not a super expensive game, but definitely worth having. It is, again, one of my favorites. Foxie Boy on the TurboGrafx 16 was released in 1990 by Media Kings Corp. This game is a little bit harder to come by. You basically are a warehouse worker, and you're shoving boxes around and trying to get the boxes into the right area. It sounds kind of simple until you start getting to some of the larger areas where you have to move multiple boxes into multiple areas to try to get everything in its correct spot. Some levels have multiple answers to their problem, and then there's some of the harder levels where there is only one way to complete it. It is a fun game. I'm I'm happy that I own it, but I wouldn't, say that you have to own it if you're a big puzzle fan. Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo on the Sega Saturn was released in 1996 by Capcom. It's kind of a gem style thing, a lot like Columns, where gems combined and then they get big enough to where they burst with certain conditions and stuff. The thing I like about this is that there's patterns, and it's more of a versus style instead of, anything else. And your character has a pattern that is specific to the character that you pick that gives you an advantage if you can land that pattern and execute it, that you will harm your opponent even more so than normal. Very innovative. I'm happy that I actually own a copy. It's really good game. Just definitely worth your time. You should, try to at least play it once on an emulator if you want to go that route. If not, it really isn't that expensive that I can recall. But again, it's just a really good game and a lot of fun. A couple of the other ones that I want to go ahead and mention, Tetris Attack on the Super Nintendo is another one of my favorites. Let's see, Puzzle Bobble is another really good one. Just bouncing the balls around and stuff. But that feels more accuracy related than puzzle related. But again, it is worth playing. Well, that's it for this episode of Moandain Designs. I'm your host, Moandain, and I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I enjoyed making it. If you like what you see, you can support me on my channel on Patreon by clicking the link below. As always, please like, comment, and subscribe.